Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael, and I am a dedicated researcher in the field of sleep apnea. I'm here to shed light on a condition that can be as deadly as it is pervasive. Sleep apnea is a serious sleep disorder that disrupts your breathing while you sleep, leading to numerous health complications if left untreated. To give you a deeper understanding, we will be watching an insightful video by Dr. Roger Sahult of MedCram on YouTube, where he expertly breaks down the mechanics of sleep apnea, its causes, symptoms, and the profound impact it can have on overall health. This video will serve as a foundation for our discussion, helping us grasp the critical importance of recognizing and addressing this silent yet dangerous condition.
Yeah. So the problem in a lot of cases is mechanical. Here you see a cross-section, and the first thing you can notice is that their tongue takes up a pretty large portion of this area. The problem is that when you go to sleep, your airway goes to sleep. This is the airway here. This is your nose and the airway going in to breathe. This is the part above your tongue that goes back. And you can see right about here is where the problem is. And then, of course, oxygen needs to go down into your lung and carbon dioxide needs to come out. And the problem is that there's an actual blockage right here. And so really, when you go to sleep, your airway muscles go to sleep, and when they close off, you're trying to breathe air in, and the air can't get down. And so this transposition of oxygen going down and carbon dioxide coming up can't happen. The more important of those two, if there is one, is that the oxygen isn't getting down. And so what happens is that the part of your brain that stays awake the whole time and monitoring your vital signs detects that your oxygen levels are going down, and it wakes up the rest of the brain to alert them to this emergency, and the rest of the brain has to wake up, tighten up the muscles, allow the air to go in, the airway opens up, oxygen gets in, oxygen comes back up. That part of the brain that is monitoring oxygen is basically satisfied, and then the brain goes back to sleep again. This thing repeats itself over and over again. You can see here that some of the risk factors for this would be having a large tongue. Now, as it turns out, typically men, more than women, when they gain weight, tend to store fat in their tongue, and so their tongues will swell. You can see that really nicely on MRI, actually, because fat shows up as basically white tissue on MRI. The other thing is that men's airways are larger, and so because of the law of Laplace, which we don't have time to get into, larger airways are more collapsible, and so they're easier to close off with pressure placed on the outside. So that's why men are typically more at risk for obstructive sleep apnea, but women are also at risk for sleep apnea, especially after menopause. How would you know that someone has sleep apnea? Snoring, or their bed partner is witnessing that they stop breathing at night. They gasp for air. They wake up in the morning with headaches. They don't feel well rested. They fall asleep very easily while not really being engaged. Or it could be very subtle things like fibromyalgia, body aches, low energy.
Thank you, Dr. Sahult, for that excellent explanation of sleep apnea. Your insights have provided us with a clear understanding of this serious condition, and your expertise is invaluable in helping us grasp the importance of recognizing and addressing it. I want to share the latest research that highlights the severity of sleep apnea. This condition is far more than just snoring or daytime fatigue. It affects millions globally, often unnoticed, and can lead to serious health issues like cardiovascular disease, stroke, and even premature death. The findings from recent studies show just how pervasive and dangerous sleep apnea is, emphasizing the urgent need for awareness, early detection, and effective treatment. As we review this data, I hope to convey the importance of addressing sleep apnea as both a personal and public health concern. Now check out the latest research.
Goes undiagnosed about 80% of the time. Our Chief Medical Correspondent, Dr. Jen Ashton, here with the details. Let's start with some definitions. What is sleep apnea? What are the symptoms?
Well, two common things here, really, that we're talking about. Sleep apnea, which can really range and run the gamut. Basically, it's a sleep disturbance, different types of sleep apnea, but most of the people who have it or their partners report that their breathing stops and starts where they're sleeping. Very loud snoring. You can literally hear someone gasping or stop breathing and then gasp when they resume breathing. And then things that you might notice if you're the one having it: daytime drowsiness or sleepiness, attention problems, cognitive issues, That's the other thing that's really common that's brought about in this headline, which is cognitive issues, memory issues, and researchers trying to see if there's a connection.
What connections does the study reveal?
Well, so this was an abstract published at the biggest neurology conference that's going on right now, and researchers at Boston Medical Center found that when they surveyed people who report these kind of sleep issues, that they had an 88% more likely chance of also reporting problems with their memory, cognitive issues. Again, we should mention this is based on association and observation, not yet cause and effect. But when you talk about sleep apnea, when you stop breathing and your oxygen saturation goes down, your CO2 goes up, you can almost think of that as having tiny mini strokes, mini heart attacks, multiple times a night, ongoing. It's a major health issue.
So it's very serious, but every time I see that CPAP machine, I think, how can people sleep with that?
Well, right. So first of all, if you think that you or someone you're living with has sleep apnea, you should try to get tested. That can either be a home test or a formal sleep study. These older full face masks right now are very difficult for people to be compliant with. There are now smaller devices that go right above the upper lip that look like that. They're soft, they're flexible, they are much less cumbersome, much more likely to be compliant with. George, I can tell you right now that for people who have sleep apnea and are treated with it, they will notice a major improvement. It's just a matter of time. Everything improves, from their weight, usually, to the way that they're able to function during the day. They'll notice it, the people around them notice it. It's very, very important that you can do this to improve your health and be preventative.
Advice there. Thanks very much.
I hope you now have a better understanding of how serious and widespread this condition is. Let's take this knowledge forward, raise awareness, and prioritize early detection and treatment.